riding out in broad daylight outside the village of Yablunivka, 10 kilometers from the border with Russia, a 3-person T-64 or T-72 tank from the Ukrainian Army's 1st Tank Brigade engaged Russian troops at a point-blank range last weekend. It fired several rounds from its 125mm main gun and then pumped out a smoke screen and darted back to safety. Mission complete, Euromaidan Press media outlet says. The exploding tank shells possibly marked the end of a grueling month-long battle for Sumy. Seizing the initiative after pushing Ukrainian troops out of western Russia's Kursk Oblast, a strong force of around 50,000 Russians marched into Sumy, aiming to create a buffer zone along the border and potentially even capture Sumy city, 35 kilometers from the border. It was a hard fight, but a smaller Ukrainian force drawn from parts of at least 10 brigades, each with a few thousand people, halted the Russian advance just south of Yablunivka. In certain areas, our units are successfully using active defense tactics and liberating Ukrainian land in Sumy Oblast. General Oleksandr Syrskyi, the Ukrainian commander-in-chief, stated that 1st Tank Brigade tank was rolling into battle. We have reconstrained about 50,000 personnel of the Russian armed forces, including elite brigades of their airborne troops and marines, Syrskyi added. The Russians employed their latest tactics, largely leaving behind their increasingly precious heavy armored vehicles. Having lost more than 20,000 armored vehicles and other heavy equipment in the first 41 months of their wider war on Ukraine, and struggling to build more than a few hundred new T-90M tanks every year, the Russians increasingly ride into battle on motorcycles or quad bikes or simply walk. Euromaidan Press says, unsupported bike troops, lacking the protection afforded by overhead drones and the extra firepower provided by nearby artillery, would be easy prey for an aggressive tank crew. Despite the stereotypical view that tanks are obsolete and ineffective in modern warfare, there continue to be examples of their successful use. The pro-Ukraine conflict intelligence team noted that one tank Ukrainian counterattack outside Yablunivka is one of those examples. That T-64 or T-72 crew may have halted the last Russian advance in this phase of the fight for Sumy. The future of modern warfare is being built in Ukraine at this moment. New equipment is being developed and deployed in Ukraine at a significantly lower cost and in a remarkably shorter time compared to almost anywhere else in the world, Bloomberg reports. Currently, Ukraine depends on US intelligence and allied air defense systems to intercept Russian missiles. However, Kyiv is increasingly producing its own weapons. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, today Kiev receives about 40% of its weapons from Ukrainian sources. Ground drones and unmanned aerial vehicles, which have been used on a large scale for the first time in the war with Russia, have sparked a revolution on the battlefield. Russian forces under Russian President Vladimir Putin's command have deployed nearly 695,000 soldiers along the front and continue to bombard civilian populations with missiles and drones. The main weapon against the invaders has become the adaptability of Ukraine's defense industry. A striking example is the modular robotic platform Termit, which serves both for transportation and clearing pathways. It is equipped with Starlink satellite internet and is already in use by more than 20 military units. Tencore, a company that started in February 2024 with 5 employees, now has 175 workers and projects $80 million in revenue for 2025 due to producing over 2,000 units of equipment. Investors sought to buy the company, but Tencore refused. Also, over 70% of Russian equipment has been destroyed by Ukrainian drones, making the country one of the most powerful drone armies in the world. Russia, in response, is ramping up drone production and using technologies that make them harder to jam, while Moscow scales up production. Ukraine bets on innovation and creativity, and this could change the course of the war. Whichever model prevails will decide the outcome of the war. The biggest obstacle for Ukraine's defense industry is funding. Despite a defense budget of $12 billion, Ukraine's production potential is 3 times greater than it is today. Kiev seeks to attract more investment from its Western allies, including from the European new project, SAFE, which envisions $150 billion for defense tech funding. In Ukraine, the unprecedented achievements of the Magura naval drone, developed and used by the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense, have been officially recognized. They have forever changed the rules of war, setting 5 world records at once. No other fleet has achieved such success, the press service of the main intelligence directorate reports. Representatives of the Book of Records of Ukraine recorded 5 unique achievements of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, made possible by the use of Magura sea drones. The ceremony took place at the Military Intelligence Museum, where an exhibition dedicated to these developments also opened. Among the records, the world's first sinking of a warship by a sea drone, first downing of an air target, the first downing of a combat aircraft, the largest number of ships and boats destroyed. In the period 2023 to 2024, 15 units of the Russian fleet, the largest number of sinkings of ships and boats. Authorized persons for registration of achievements of the Book of Records of Ukraine presented certificates to Kirill Budanov, the leadership of the drone unit of the main intelligence directorate, and the fighters of Group 13 conducting naval special operations. Representative of the Book of Records of Ukraine, Andriy Masiuk, noted, "We observed the development and combat use of Magura and can state with complete confidence, these achievements are unique on a global scale. They testify to the fact that Ukraine, even in the most difficult conditions, is capable of creating innovations that change the course of war and become a role model." Chief of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense, Lieutenant General Kirill Budanov, said, "Every sunken ship, every shot down plane or helicopter is a reduction in the enemy's capabilities. These are real steps towards our victory. I thank Group 13 for their work. Their dedication and professionalism allow us to achieve such results." The commander of the Group 13 unit, call sign 13th, noted the contribution of Ukrainian engineers. "Thank you to the manufacturers for their innovations and to my team for their loyalty and successful work. We are fighting against a state with large resources, and any support is especially important. Thank you to the Book of Records for recognition and trust." Military expert Mikhail Gonchar also emphasized the effectiveness of Magura. "These drones have already set records in the water and in the air. I wish the next record would be underwater." Russian submarines have clearly been waiting to meet Ukrainian drones. According to the representative of the main intelligence directorate, Andrei Yusov, this is not just about records, but about a strategic breakthrough. The records set are evidence of how Ukraine is changing the military history of the world, proving that innovation and courage are stronger than any enemy numbers. Ukraine is changing the military history of the world. Innovation and courage are stronger than numbers. Your work is an example for the whole world of how asymmetric responses can be effective and destructive for the aggressor.